I've clicked live. You are now clacking. If you want to mute while you're clicking.
No, that's all right. That's all right.
Good evening, lovely people. Oh no, it says please stand by. I don't know why it says please stand by. Oh, fuck off. Jeez,
Is it broadcasting?
Yes.
And the other one as well? Oh, sometimes it helps if you
refresh. No, but it says please stand by.
It seems to be working. Hello?
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Oh.
We're there.
My apologies to anyone. If anyone heard any of that, my apologies. Yes. Yes. Yeah, sorry, Michael. We do our best to live up to our reputation as being incompetent. So, Modway.
Yeah, I'm still here.
I thought you wanted to say something. Sorry.
No, I just needed to blow my nose. That's why I muted myself.
Ah, I couldn't tell the difference.
Almost the same. Almost the same.
Almost the same, indeed.
But yeah, no, I mean, it's a bit early, so I'm not sure if we should start right away or should give people a chance to join.
We can prattle on. And I can moan about Grim Jim.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't seen this video yet, so by all means do.
Okay. Grim Jim, otherwise known as Grimachu on Mines, which is where I first encountered him. He was in the anti-SJW group, even though he is an avowed socialist. But he's gone a bit loony since Brexit. No, it's only just started, Ludicrous. Only just started. And good evening to you.
Hi there, Ludicrous.
So he put out a video. If I can find it, because I'm useless and keep losing all my windows. That isn't the one. History. Scaring my mic, did I? It didn't tell me it was scared. Okay. Yeah, it's this one. Degenerate is the problematic of the right, and it's actually problematic. And by that, what he means is he doesn't mean that being degenerate is problematic. He means calling things degenerate is problematic. And apparently, the reason he says it's problematic is because it's a genuine dog whistle to the far right. Now, here's my problem. There are increasing...
There are increasing the news.
Sorry, Michael put up a chat that I had to pass at least twice to understand. But that was just me not quite understanding.
Okay.
Yes, I mean, it's like children stripping at gay... no, not what they call them. What they call them? Women who dress as men. The performers. What they call them? Those performers, women who dress as men.
Women who are dressed as men?
Yeah, there's a special term for the women performers who dress as men.
Actors? No.
No.
I know the other way around. Men dressed as women are transvestite, but the other way around.
No. But they're not called that. The ones who do, they have bars and things. Fuck. Why does my brain always go blank when I'm talking?
Hi there, Toxic.
I can't contextualize it. Drag queens. Okay?
Yeah, but
drag queens. That's what I'm talking about. Kids stripping and drag bars is what I'm talking about. Those were the words I wanted to use. Thank you.
Okay, but that's men dressed as women.
That's what I said.
No,
Men
you said
dressed
women.
as women. Men dressed as women. Drag bars.
Okay. Okay. Go on then.
Okay. I'll start the point again. There are many reasons to call people degenerate. For example, when you have children stripping at drag bars, or the kinds of lewd, explicit sexual actions done in broad daylight in the street during. Well, if I misspoke it because I was trying to remember. Struggling. I meant men dressed as women. Whatever I said. My mouth doesn't necessarily follow my brain. Anyway.
That's okay. Continue.
Yes, so there are many reasons to call people degenerate. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And regular people can do so. You don't have to be any political person at all to see that and consider it to be degenerate, right?
Yeah.
But Grim Jim's saying, but degenerate is a term started by the Nazis. And because of that history, if you now use the term, it's a dog whistle to the Nazis. And well, my fundamental problem is this. To be a dog whistle implies intent. If somebody else wants to read into my words something that I never even crossed in my mind, that's not my problem. I don't care. That's their problem. And I'm not going to change my words because it's what the frigging arseholes over there on the left do all the time. They say, because that group of people will use it one way, you can't use the same term. It's like, no, fuck those people. We'll use it as it's always been meant, actually. It's a perfectly valid word in the dictionary.
Yeah, I don't understand where he came up that it's an alt-right term. I mean,
because okay, here's the problem. Okay, so calling people degenerate is a standard smear tactic of any moralistic authoritarian group.
Yeah.
Not just the Nazis, but just.
No, it's been around far longer.
Yeah, exactly. And yet, because
he
he traces it back to the Nazis, all of a sudden it's a dog whistle for the right. And it's this whole argument that I object to.
But I think degeneracy as a term has been far older. I can remember reading, but I could be wrong, but I can remember reading that degeneracy was a mental affliction back in the 18th century.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, Modwayne. That's not my point. I mean, this is my point. Yes, degeneracy has no specific tie to the Nazis. That they used it too is not a valid reason to A, call it a dog whistle, or B, stop using the term. It sounds more like you can't call this thing degeneracy because we want to silence you and not give you a way to complain about this terrible thing that we're doing.
Now, if I Google the term, then most of it is
Don't
mathematics.
Google.
Yeah, well, it's mostly mathematics and science, but yeah, sure, it was used by the Nazis. Fair enough, but I mean, it's from a book of the turn of the 20th century. No, sorry, the turn of the 19th century. No, 19 to 20th century. And I mean, in this book, they describe degeneracy quite clearly as what we consider it to be now as well. So, I mean, that's like 50 years before the Nazis, 40 years before the Nazis, let's call it that. So to consider it a Nazi thing, yeah, you can, but...
No, but this is my point. You can't. There is no validity.
Oh, you can, but there is no validity.
No, and that's what I'm saying. So saying you can technically attribute anything to anything, but then you literally have no meaning.
Yeah.
And that's why
Indeed.
I say you can't, because bias can't, as in there is no validity to it. Oops, he's gone. Is he gone?
Yes, no, I'm still here, but the rabbit is making a lot of noise, and there's only so much I can do. So I'm sorry, I had to mute myself again. I'm sorry to hear about your jet lag, by the way, Toxic. Welcome back to America, I guess.
And yes, no, but Ludicrous. Yes, Ludicrous. That's exactly the point I made to Modwayne earlier. Is funny how all these lefties are the only ones who can hear these dog whistles. It's almost as if they think exactly the same way as the far right.
But isn't that? I mean, I'm going to give a slightly different example, but you have jokes, and those jokes can be considered racy.
Racy as in rude, not racy as in racist.
Rude, racy as in sexist, whatever. But most people that hear those jokes are merely considering them jokes. They don't care. Mm-hmm. But all of a sudden, people with a certain mindset consider them then offensive or blah, 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 blah. Because that's what they want it to be.
Well, at that, and they've had their sense of humor removed.
Well, that too.
No, I mean to understand something as a joke essentially relates to your mindset. It is very culturally dependent. Okay. Because the whole point of a joke is it does something with your expectations.
True.
And but that then means it produces. You see, in a culture, there is a general norm, not an absolute, it's not universal, but a general norm of expectations. And then the joke, what we find funny, goes against that in some way. Well, if you're a lefty, your understanding of reality is so broken anyway that anything that tries to be funny against normal understanding of reality doesn't compute. So they can't find it funny. It's not that they haven't got a sense of humor. It's just that it's based on something none of us understand.
Yeah. But there's something, and this is something we're doing in our society. I mean, not too long ago, I read an article about a 5-year-old boy being slapped with, what's it called in America? You can be a sex offender. Being slapped as being a sex offender because he hugged kids at school.
Yeah.
5 years old. Trust me, nowhere in the mind of a 5-year-old is sex even part of a general thought.
No,
but adults say sex offender.
No, but what's worse is it's they're taking offence in a very sex-specific way. Because if it was a girl going around hugging everyone, they'd just say, "Oh, isn't she so loving and outgoing?"
Yeah, well, that too.
No, that's especially. The first principle has to be equality. Do you treat everyone the same? If you don't, you're the problem. And this is why I detest this modern left so much, because they will not treat people the same. They want to ascribe qualitative difference based on nothing, literally nothing.
Yeah. And now women will become victims of little 5-year-old boys. Well, probably that might be part of it, because we've seen so many teachers being brought up on charges for sexually abusing their students. So now they can in the future say, "Oh, no, well, no, we're a victim."
Oh, yeah.
There's something seriously wrong. I mean, we are talking about Weimar Republic degeneracy levels. It's not nice to say, but it is It is true.
Well, the problem is this, right? In a group of people vary, right?
Yeah.
You create norms by keeping anyone who will vary in any way within the bounds of the group, what's acceptable to the group.
Uh-huh.
Which, in an evolutionary terms, is fine because you're small groups where everyone knows each other, right?
Yeah.
It starts to break down the minute you move into large anonymous communities.
Uh-huh.
But if you have a large overreaching organization such as the church, it will function to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
To a degree, because what happens is all the leaders go off and be degenerate because there's no one to hold them to account because it's a highly hierarchical organization. And so, Renaissance popes could have prostitutes playing games naked on the floor in front of them, and it's like, okay, that's what they do because there's literally no one above them to keep them in order. Okay,
Uh-huh.
but for the majority of people,
let me explain for Toxic. The Weimar Republic was the name of the German country between World War One
not
and
German
World War
country. It was a nickname. It was a nickname. Weimar was the town in Germany where they signed the constitution that set it up as a democratic republic after the fall of World War One. Because prior to
And
that, it had been a monarchy under Kaiser.
yes.
So it was
And
an
then
informal term because it's just a town in Germany.
true, but they call it the Weimar Republic because of that.
Yeah, but it's not. It wasn't the name of the country. It was still just Germany.
It was still just Germany, correct. But during the period of the Weimar, there was lots of degeneracy going on. In this period of time, the Frankfurt School of Thought came up with lots of stupid ideas. Free sex was not only promoted, it was actually pushed. Just about anything you can think of under the name degeneracy was common. And it really was. So it was Sodom and Gomorrah, basically. Some of these things weren't that bad, but some of these things were terrible. And
sorry, one sec. Michael, yes, it is a town, but it was the town where they did it as the event was in the past.
So yeah, but be that as it may, during these periods of time in Weimar Republic, this is one of the things that got people upset. This is why the NSDAP, which at first had a different name, but never mind that, were growing in Germany and in the end became one of the leading parties. And what you were hearing, Michael, isn't my wife, but it's one of my rabbits. They're outside of the cage right now, so they can run around a bit. And
yeah, I'd already answered him in the chat. I typed very quietly for a change. I tippy-toed on the keyboard.
Actually, Toxic, I wouldn't say we're doomed to repeat this.
Okay, so can I now continue my point because I was partway through a point.
Yeah, sure, go on.
So that's what I was saying. So when you've got a large society, people need constrain. It's when you grow up. It's like if you have good parents, they will teach you how to behave, how to constrain your wants and desires to the point where you don't even conceive of doing degenerate things because you've got yourself under control, right? And the only reason people do extreme things like violence is because they've been pushed into a state of temporary insanity by provocating circumstances. Right. And that's how society functions. The problem is that you will always get your extremes, the people who are untamable. And the honey badgers were saying just the other day how the men the small proportion of men who cause all the problems, who are violent, etc., criminally violent, actually constitute a different phenotype because they are usually damaged during childhood and their brains develop in such an abnormal way that they are distinguishable from the vast majority of normal men. Right. So, okay, so that complicates matters, but you still constrain society as a whole by having norms and good family, being raised well by your family and so forth, and having institutions that teach you to be respectful and considerate and thoughtful of others, and not considerate of others, and not just selfish and mean and whatever.
Yeah.
But we have political movements and social movements which explicitly say not only are those a bad thing, but we should do the opposite, where they demonize. I mean, there was an article in a couple of years ago in an American magazine, Parents and Families or something, Parents and Children, and it literally said, if you have neighbors who are white and happy and keep to themselves, be careful, they're probably Nazis. So they were literally demonizing normal, decent people.
Yeah.
And so this subject of degeneracy is, well, when you've got movements like the alphabet soup lobby promoting degenerate behavior while demonizing normal behavior and polite, respectful, considerate behavior, you're going to get this runaway bloody degeneracy.
But it's double though, because I mean, let's look at the alphabet people. Sure, why not? Gays. Okay. Most people don't have a problem with gays just as long as they live a normal life. I mean, they shouldn't pull untoward attention to themselves, nor should they try to harm other people. If they do that, nobody cares. Transgenders, same thing. But at this point in time, there are so many gay people that I know. There are transgender people that I know of who are absolutely against what the LGBTQ plus yada blah.
It's the activists who are the problem, not the.
Don't identify with this anymore. They feel like, oh, you know what? I have more in common with my heterosexual neighbor than with these people with the same affliction that I seem to have.
Well, yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, I won't say that being gay is a form of degeneracy.
No, who said that it was?
No, I'm not saying you did, but I'm just, enunciating it, making clear.
Well, no, because I wasn't even talking about that.
Uh-huh.
I'm talking about the degenerate stuff, like having 9-year-olds stripping at a drag bar.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with homosexuality. People.
No. Nor transgender, nor any of these things.
No, it's because I mean, I don't know about the drag queens, right? Okay, but it was a long understood fact that back when transvestism in the UK was just men liking to wear women's clothes. It was widely understood that the vast majority of transvestites were heterosexual men.
Yeah.
It wasn't a sexual thing.
Well, especially not in the UK, where how do you call it? thespians were men.
Well, but we're going back 400 years then. But
No, that was still the case, I think, before the Second World War.
no, it wasn't.
On average, now, okay, you would have a few women, but on average, they still mostly used men.
No, they didn't.
Okay, well, from what I found, hi there, Innovatio.
So, have you got something to confess to us, Renovatio? Not that we care, but
No, but see, the thing is, people, you can't say that something is degenerate, because then they will mix up all sorts of things that they feel you are attacking. For example, if I talk about the degeneracy of the LGBTQ movement, people start talking about how I'm against gays. I'm not.
well, you see,
Well, you have a problem with trans people because you have a problem with promoting gender dysphoria. No, I don't have a problem with trans people, but I recognize that gender dysphoria is an actual problem. We shouldn't pretend that it's a good thing.
no, no, no.
Doesn't mean
I've got to
people-
say that again, it's all about how you use your language, right? See, I would never say the degeneracy of the movement. I would say the degeneracy promoted by the movement and specific things accepted by the movement. But to call the movement itself degeneracy isn't a reasonable it's just a generalization. And the problem is for any generalization, people just turn around to, but I'm not like that.
Yeah. Well, I know very few people who still identify as LGBTQ because of the very things we just talked about. So
No, I know. I was saying it's the activists. But the activists, and it's the political motivation for what they advocate. This is what I'm talking about. But I never conflate the community with the community, if you know what I mean. The political entity that is a community is anything but the wider body of those people. They're self-appointed activists.
Ow. No, that's true. Yes, transsexuals are something than transgenders. The difference, but you know what? I don't care whether you're a transsexual or a transgender either. The problem I have is the normalization of gender dysphoria. Now, transgenderism is a problem. If you feel that you have this problem, you should seek help. That doesn't mean you shouldn't trans from one to the other. I prefer you didn't, don't get me wrong, but if you do, then at least do so well informed. But nowadays, they start treatment even before they good and well have looked up what the problem is. And that's why the people with gender dysphoria are more likely to commit suicide than people who are depressed. I mean, people who are transgender, gender dysphoric have a 40% chance. No, that's not true. 40% of the people who are gender dysphoric, transgender, commit suicide. But they will do so both before or after they have been operated on. Now, if transgenderism itself is indeed going from man to woman or woman to man, then after the operation, you would have reached your goal. So why is suicide still very high in that group? Because the goal isn't what they need. It doesn't end the problem. So yeah, I mean, we should take the problem far more serious. But somehow we're not allowed to because liberalism.
Here you
See,
go. Here you go, Modwin. I've got something for you. If I can find the screen share thingy. There we go. Screen share. And then I'll share it with you, and then I'll
stick it on the site.
Share it with you. Okay, hang on. And then stick it in the stream if I can find the right window, which I can never do.
Ah, yes, about female actors.
Okay.
I know it was allowed. I'm saying it just didn't happen that very often.
Well, this is why I pulled up Victorian era actresses.
Yeah, but I mean, even then, for example, there were plays to entertain the troops, so to speak.
Okay.
Those plays were still played by men.
It depends what you mean. Are you talking about It Ain't Our Fatma?
Well, the show was quite nice, but it was based on some reality, so to speak.
Yes, because they were army units, and the army units only had male soldiers.
But that still means that within society, it was a normal thing to do.
No, you said the norm, there were hardly any women. That is not the same as under exceptional circumstances, only the men acting. Because if you went to a girls' school of the same era, the men would have been played by the girls because all the actors were girls. You can only cast by the people available to you.
Yeah, but you even in big plays, they often still would just use men.
No, I'm afraid not. No.
All right. But okay, so we know it happened, and this is where cross-dressers came from, and it wasn't a big deal.
Well, actually, the cross-dressers didn't come from the theatre; they came from music hall.
Yeah.
And the music hall were men and women from the start. So, and they had women dressing as men as much as they had men dressing as women, oddly enough, back in the Victorian era where women were more women and less men.
Oh, sorry. I did something wrong. Oh, no, but enough of that. Thing is, though, that it's not about people wanting to be something else. The problem is people wanting to be something else, and therefore other people need to follow what they want. It's the same that, I don't care what religion you believe in. It's your religion. Don't bother me with it.
Yeah. But that's the trouble. People can't help themselves. They are instructed to evangelize. And it's the bloody evangelicals who get on your tits.
Yeah. And unfortunately, this happens in every religion. So, yes, also in the LGBTQ transgender popsicle religion. It's double, though. Anyway, we wanted to talk politics. Or at least I thought it would be a fun thing to talk about politics.
Okay.
So how many people in the chat have been keeping tracks of the Democratic nominees for presidency of the United States? To me, it's really funny. I mean, in all fairness, I can't think of one that I would even consider to be head of parents, how do you call them, for school. I forgot the name. To me, they're all terrible. But then again, they're all already politicians, so there's that.
Yeah.
It's so weird though. I mean, all of them are in favor of some of the most regressive left wing bullshit, and none of them have an idea how to do it.
Well, no, because it's fake. Me. What's you, Toxic Threads?
Me, as in she tries to follow it, perhaps.
I don't know because
Remember, there is a
I interrupted the chat with 3 lines from Ozzy Osbourne's Suicide Solutions. So
oh, okay.
dicks. That's like insects.
Yes,
Well,
many things.
okay. So the one of the reasons, the things that struck me, doing my utmost to not follow it, and mostly learning everything I know, which is bugger all, off of the titles of videos from people I follow, is even the ones people say, oh no, she's not so bad, or he's not so bad. Yeah, they're half decent. And even people on the other side can see that they're genuine. Start losing it because they have to start playing the identity politics game. And as did you say, Modwayne? They are so bad at it because there's nothing in them that actually thinks these things, and so it's all role playing.
Well, whether it's role playing or not, whether they believe it themselves or not, they are at least very clear in not wanting to answer how they think to achieve the things they claim they want to achieve.
Oh, well, that's fatal these days.
And in all fairness, okay, and I thought that Toxic's me was based on my question, who's following it? Thank you for confirming that. I'm curious, Toxic, out of all of those Democrats, who do you think has at least a modicum of sense? And maybe calling it a modicum is...
I think one of the problems, though, and this is the point I wanted to get at, is, and why I sort of was hinting at the problem being that of the whole process, is there aren't any simple identifiable positions to a party anymore, because they are these huge coalitions of often contradictory positions, but they're contradictory in, like, it's like you don't take one person and they agree absolutely nothing with another person. It's everybody disagrees with everybody else on a completely different set of issues because there are so many issues.
Yeah.
And traditionally, people have tried to center themselves on something that is generally towards the consensus. Now, of course, with someone like Jeremy Corbyn, what you do is you have a leader of a major party who's way out of kilter with the general consensus of that area of politics. And that is what, your AOCs and whatever are also doing. They have left any position of consensus and gone to the positions they hold. And there's a vocal, active, energetic, shall we say, support for them, which inflates the influence beyond the mere numbers. And then what you get is you get people, so many people saying, well, I don't like them, I don't relate to them anymore, but I don't particularly like the other side that much more either, because I was never aligned with the other side.
Yeah, and it's I don't know. I mean, the way the things are going, because now people are talking about how Tulsi is so much different than the other ones. And I'm like, you know what? She might be the least of the idiots, but she's still an idiot to me because some of the things she said are just as
crazy
as the other ones.
Yeah. Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, it was her who I had in mind because I'd heard so many people, and I watched her interview with Tim Pool, and it's like, okay, 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 you what? Okay, 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 you what? You know what I mean? It's like,
I mean, it's not as if she is that much better than any of the other ones.
well, as I say, this is the problem. It's you can't quantify it, right? You can take the extremes, your AOCs who are like, no, I agree with her on nothing. Okay, but that's an easy case.
Yeah.
But the problem is everyone else is like, well, it's like Tulsi Gabbard doesn't want foreign wars. She wants to reduce American involvement. Okay, which
Yeah.
makes her an exception on the Democratic side, right?
Yes, very much
But
so.
I can support that. But the problem is, if you take that position dogmatically and utterly ignore the practical interests of your country on an issue by issue basis, you're not doing leadership right. Because nothing's black and white. Nothing is.
Yeah, that's something I can forgive her for, because obviously when you make certain points, you're not going to make every nuance
No,
out
but
there.
it's a major factor of her
What I find
platform.
problematic is that, okay, you know what? Her not wanting to be in foreign wars, I support 100%, no two ways about it. But at the same time, she still wants open borders and she still wants to pay for the health care of everyone in America, including the illegal aliens. And I'm like, I'm sorry. That's the one thing they all agree on. It's the most stupid of all the ideas they have, and they all agree on it.
Yeah, and this is my point, because that's why I focused on her foreign policy position, because that's the one she knows about and is interested in.
Yeah.
And if she can't get that right, I can't forgive her on that, because that's the one she pays attention to. Now, that doesn't let her off the hook on things like open borders, but the problem is there are so many issues. People aren't experts on everything. And so you can understand, even if you can't agree with, the temptation to just go with the crowd on issues that you don't find important.
Yeah. But it's weird. And I mean, now people are complaining about how what's her face Warren is getting difficult questions. Everyone has already written off Biden. I don't know why the guy was in the list to begin with, but hey, there is that. It's amazing to see that they are all okay with the Democratic Party running as it is. None of them stand out and say, you know what? Yeah, no, this is silly. We're not going to go for this. And well, maybe you got booted because you are in America toxic. And I said Tulsi Gabbard, and YouTube doesn't want people in America to be hearing anything about Tulsi Gabbard, apparently.
No, but this is my point. This is my point, Modern. Okay, so you were saying, why is she supporting policies that everyone else supports? If you're going to go to bat on an issue against the majority, you have to be invested in that subject and you have to be knowledgeable on that subject, or else you're going to get creamed. And so if she doesn't care about borders, it's a no-win situation for her if she tries any other than the majority position, because they'll suddenly say, well, we all agree with it. What's wrong with you? And if she doesn't understand, then how's she going to argue? She's just going to cross as an idiot. You don't fight the battles when you're weak. You fight the battles where you're strong.
True, but at the same time, I think that the Democratic Party has become too.
But this is the point. This is the whole point. This is the whole point. That it's all right looking at a person saying, oh, this person's doing this person's doing that. The question is, we all operate within systems. If we want to be successful, we have to abide by the rules.
Uh-huh.
Or do what Trump did and make some new ones.
I'm not sure if Trump made new rules.
Well, relatively speaking, he did. But anyway, the point being is, it is the democratic process. And weirdly, okay, so in America, they have this weird thing. So you have to win 2 separate, very different elections. You have to win your primary and you have to win the presidential. And you've got very different constituencies for both, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so to win your primary, that is what is making all the Democratic candidates come across as loonies, because that seems to be a prerequisite to have a chance in the process.
Yeah, but I mean, how can they not see what they're doing? They're destroying themselves.
But here's the point. They're in a no-win situation. They probably are fully aware of what they're doing. The problem is you can't get to stand. No, but you can't get to stand to fight for president if you can't get through the primary.
Yeah, but I mean, how do you think they have a chance to get through the primary when they're all saying the bloody same thing? None of them has an original thought. Okay, well, Tulsi seems to have an original thought when it comes to foreign wars. But on everything else, they're all the bloody same.
Yeah, and as I say, because you cannot afford to be different.
Of the people.
You cannot afford to be different on topics you are not strong on. And you can't be strong on every topic.
I'm sorry, by the way, the notification came from my phone. There's very little I can do about it. I don't know why it keeps coming.
Turn the bloody thing off.
Yeah, if I do that, I forget to turn it on, so I'm sorry.
So that is, you guys have to suffer because Modwayne's forgetful.
Yes, I'm sorry.
But he can't put a little note on his phone saying turn back on after screen.
And indeed, Toxic, you are correct. That would be fucked up if true, but it seems to be true. YouTube and Google are blocking messages that they don't like.
Consider my shock.
It's easier for people in Germany to find out stuff about the American election than it is for Americans. Mm-hmm. And it's really scary. It's so weird that this is still allowed to happen. I don't understand, but yeah. The problem is these are free companies, so...
No, they're not.
No, they're not. They're authoritarian, but okay.
No, they are. Aren't they bought and paid for by the American secret services? You know, CIA and all that.
I'm not sure. I mean, at best I think that's.
No, I mean the money that went into setting up Google. I thought it was well tested. That's where the money came from.
I don't know. I seriously don't know. Oh, I'm sorry. No. Sleep well, toxic. In all fairness, I could do with some sleep too. The old man and all that. No, but it's strange because, let's be honest, there is no threat on. No, that's not right. There's no viable threat at this point in time coming from the Democratic Party. Now, that doesn't mean that I think Trump will automatically win, because there's a good chance that he won't. Hi there, Richard.
Is there?
There is, yeah. There's still a chance he loses.
Well, there's always a chance, especially, as I
well,
say, if the Democrats have worked out how to hack the voting machines.
I'm not quite sure if that's the way I would put it, but yeah, sure.
Well, it was shorthand. It was shorthand for gaming the system.
But everyone was sure that Hillary would win.
Yeah, because they hadn't quite worked out to game the system.
Yeah, but
they've had 4 years.
True.
I mean, we've got the insider. Okay, what was his name? It was the same name as that paedophile. Oh God, a million names. That guy, he was a Democrat, and he was an insider from Google, and he said that they estimated 3 million votes were swayed to the Democrats through.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Epstein. That was it. Epstein. He was an Epstein.
And that 3 million was a conservative estimate, because they don't know the real numbers, but it could easily be times that.
Yeah. But yeah, and so you've got that influence, and they know that the software for the voting machines is hardly secure, and then they have dead people voting, and they bust people where they don't have identity checks, and let's just say there are many means to distort the actual figures.
True. And it's a genuine issue.
And Michael, no, not instead, and you've got to think properly, the right scale. They do all those things. There were accounts where people saw their vote being changed in front of their eyes. That's all I'm saying.
True that.
I'll say, I mean.
And then there are the manual ballots that have disappeared. They found bags of ballots later, but then they couldn't be counted anymore. So yeah, that's too bad.
And don't count the sudden inability of a polling office to accept the people standing outside, which happened.
Oh yeah, that happened too. Yeah.
As I say, there are many ways to.
The American electoral system is sensitive. Let's call it that. It's easy.
Vulnerable is what I'd call it.
Vulnerable, yeah. But that's because there are too many people who are in it not to defend democracy, but to defend their own position.
Yeah,
it's kind of fun, but it's the same thing that I don't understand, how still in America, as one of the few Western nation, if not only Western nation, you don't have to identify for voting.
Well, technically, it's a bit dodgy here as well.
No, because in the UK, you at least get your voter's ballot. Now, someone else may use your voter's ballot, but there's a limited number of ballots out there.
Yes. The
other
other thing is, I could go along to vote without my piece of paper, and they would just ask my identity. Now, somebody told me that not somebody told me. I watched somebody say that where they lived in the UK, they had to show ID, but
Yeah.
they'd run a limited test of showing ID. What's the word? In a few areas on a previous election, but the whole issue of ID. See, in Europe, it doesn't matter because nearly every country has mandatory ID system, whereas the
Yeah.
UK doesn't. So we don't. While a lot of people have a passport and a lot of people have a driver's license, not everyone does. And therefore it is very hard to have a voting system which is dependent upon people having those things.
Yeah, here it's not so much dependent. I mean, officially, you need to when you vote, you need to identify yourself, but you need your ballot paper with you. So there's only so many ballot papers out there. So there is no way to get more votes than there are people because the ballot papers aren't there.
However, things oppressive to people of colour, Richard. The first excuse, right, or reason any progressive person brings out for anything they don't like is, but that'll be discriminatory to people of colour. And it's said as a reflex. It's not said because it's true. It's not said because they've asked people of colour. However you do that, it is literally a reflex reaction to we don't like this. Let's find a simple way of shooting it down.
They did ask people of color.
What, in the UK?
No, not in the UK. In America.
No, we're talking about in the UK.
Oh, okay. But in the UK, no one ever said it's a problem for people of color.
Yes, they did.
Really? Oh,
yes,
okay.
Because very recently they talked about mandatory IDs at elections, and somebody said that would be oppressive to people of colour. Was it Corbyn? I think Corbyn said it. Either him or somebody else senior in the Labour Party.
Yeah, but Corbyn is a racist anyway.
Maybe he is a racist anyway, but that's not the point. That is not an argument. That is an ad hominem.
Maybe. Still true.
No, it's not a point. Jeez.
No, it is though, because come on.
No,
if you're going to say that asking someone to identify themselves is racist for people of color, then basically what you are saying is people of color can't be asked for their identity.
No. What he's saying is that the forms of identity they were talking about were had less often disproportionately by people of color, which, yes, that was a racist statement on his part. However, as I say, that's not why they say it. They say it as a reflex to something they don't like.
Yeah, fair enough, but that still doesn't negate the fact that it's a racist thing to say.
Yeah, I know, but that's not what you said. You said he is a racist, not what he said was racist.
Well, in case of Corbyn, yes, I am saying he is a racist because...
Yeah, and I'm saying calling him a racist is an ad hominem and not an argument. No, saying what he said is racist is an argument. That is
yes, no, but there are other proofs in showing that he is indeed a racist and an anti-Semite. But
yeah, well, isn't that the same thing?
Yes, it is. Therefore, we know he's a racist. That's what I'm saying. So it's not an ad hominem. It might not be...
No. It's an ad hominem because you're insulting him and not addressing the question.
we're talking about whether people should ID themselves. And then he says no because it's racist to do so.
Yeah, because and my point is that it is a reflex. It is not a sincere point, irrespective of whether it's a racist thing to say or anything else. It's said as a reflex.
Anyway. Petertje, hou eens op, jongen.
He's telling off the rabbit now.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I have a Ren to block half of the chamber so they can't attack the couch because they've done that.
Yeah, I know, Michael Kelly. But the point is that they actually, and this is true, a few years ago tried to end the use of checks in the United Kingdom. They failed, but they are not very common, and a lot of shops will not accept them anymore. They are an almost negligible part of the financial system now.
Yeah. Checks and balances. Sorry. Anyway. The rabbit is pretty rampant, yes.
Well, they're caged all the time, and they're given a little bit of freedom, and they go mad. I'm making a joke, Modway. I'm making a joke. Don't take what I say seriously.
They now have half the room. That normally they would have had the whole room, but as I said, because they chew on the couch, and I've tried to teach them not to, but they seem to be reluctant into wanting to learn, or at least one of the two is. So now they only have half the room. And he doesn't like it. He doesn't have to like it. That's how it is. No. But yeah.
We all know about what rabbits are really like. I've seen Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Yes, well, not really sure if that's the case. But
depending upon the argument, Richard, to answer your question, either women most affected or minority most affected. In all case, there's one answer to that. Fuck off, you moron. Because no, they're not. I mean, you can make a perfectly good argument for certain lower class people being most affected. But guess what? There are white ones of those.
Yep.
Probably a lot more than there are black ones.
Yep. Anywho, I have to ask if we can call it earlier today because I am tired. And I am oppressing my rabbits. I have no fault in denying or admitting to that. No problem in admitting to it, I should have said. Yes, I am oppressing them. They are very limited in what they are allowed to do. But I do so to protect them because, hey.
Yeah. And he doesn't turn them into stew, so he's not that oppressive.
No. These rabbits will not be eaten. Because, yeah, they're part of the family. Rabbit paw doesn't bring luck. Rabbit's got 4 of them. Yeah, there you have it. That is true.
Okay, so Mod Wayne wants you all to bugger off, which is sad.
No, you can continue. Listen, if you want to continue, we can continue. But if not,
I can't do this solo. So unless some adventurous soul wishes, yet con.
Yeah, then I could still go on as well, but considering that we've
Well, let's be fair.
seen.
We often set a topic, and that's the thing we don't talk about. And to be honest, on my part, I will fully confess that not only don't I know very much about the U.S. Democratic candidates, I care even less.
Mm-hmm.
My whole principle, and it's the same for Brexit, because people asked about Brexit, is just wait till it's finished. Then you can talk about it because there will be facts. Until there are facts, people just spout bollocks. They give their opinion. They get everything wrong. And it's like, really? And as we're not making a living at this, we don't have to do that. Yay.
Nope. Now, it would be nice if I could make a living out of this, but then I have to put more effort in.
Oh,
that's for sure.
Lord
then again,
knows.
I did put in 2 videos in 2 days' time. So.
He did? On his favourite topic of the environment.
Yeah. I'm going to... because feminism has been done so much.
Yeah, but the trouble with feminism is you might not care about it. But it not only cares about you, but everything.
Mm-hmm.
Feminism cares about things you couldn't possibly conceive it being involved in. And yet somehow they find an angle. Somehow, you know.
Yeah, I probably will make videos about feminism and all that soon as well. But for the time being...
So who was I watching? Was it Sargon? And it was the Seattle schools, and how the new mathematics curriculum has been designed by, you guessed it, a professor of ethnic studies.
Yeah.
Because why on earth would you want anyone mathematical having a say in what you devise? And several of the main points that they thought were pertinent started off with, as ethnic studies is, and they're designing it for mathematics. And it's like, what the fuck? Because they can't help themselves.
Yeah. Well,
and what gets me is the Chinese must be pissing themselves laughing at this point. The Chinese aren't going to be corrupting their education with stupid social justice bollocks. So that when your average American school child leaves school illiterate and innumerate, they're going to be going, yay!
Richard Beyer, I know that one. It's a YouTube millionaire, actually, who made that, and that's a few years ago.
Was he was a YouTuber? I thought he was a music star or something. But
yeah. No, I think he was a YouTuber. Well,
yeah, I saw it. He was a twat, whatever he was. He was just a yeah. He was sitting in some luxurious pad, going, "Yeah, I'm more impressed than your homeless white man," and it's like, fuck off.
Yeah, and it's really amazing because he just bought his mother a house and paid with it all in cash.
Yeah, but he's oppressed.
But he's oppressed.
Yeah.
Quite amazing, really. Let me see if I can find it.
Oh, don't. We've all seen it.
It's too old, so I probably can't. I forgot the name of the dude.
It was that idiot. Sharon is a cunt, not a twat.
No idea what you're on about. What do you mean?
Well, as a
And
twat is a cunt and a cunt is a twat, aren't they just synonyms? Hi, Nick's radio.
Yeah, I said hi, Nick.
No, I did.
Oh, okay. Well, I did it first. Yeah.
Good for you. Congratulations.
See, Nick, I.
That was Melvin. Melvin was the Osborne. Yes, I know Richard. I guessed it was, but she's a cunt and a twat, and she's but you can take the different meanings of both slurs.
Yeah, I think I found, by the way, the dude's channel is called Weekend Chimp Out.
That's racist.
Yeah, he's an idiot.
No, but you see, that this is the new woke culture. You are the worst person in the world and must be literally crucified if you say something about them. But if they say the exact same thing, that's just fine.
Yeah.
And but the point is that is actually intentional. Yes, I know the same difference between a spanner and a wrench, Richard. But I like being an English language nationalist. That's nationalist about my language.
He likes to be a spanner.
I just like to use the terms that I grew up with. I'm old enough to claim that privilege, no matter how what's the word? How little unlegitimate it is for me to do so. I will claim the legitimacy of my old age and lifelong habit of saying it's a spanner. I will call it a wrench if there are screwing bits that are just the width involved, or it has sockets.
I can still remember that not only a spanner is called a spanner, but you can call people spanners too.
Well, you can certainly call them tools, which is here's the best bit, right? So calling someone a tool is useful, but calling someone a tool, they are useless.
Yeah, that is not. Oh, sorry. Yawn.
So no takers for Modwayne's spot then.
Yes, I'm sorry, people, but Modwayne.
Yes, old man tired.
Old man and all that.
Yes. But
well, there you go.
So look at the way Jordan Peterson is being treated since going to rehab for help with getting off the anti-anxiety medication. Yeah, Honey Badger Radio, as always.
You know how it goes.
Demythicize this, because all of that type of medication apparently is immediately addictive, and therefore
a lot of
seeking help is just a medical common sense.
No, but a lot of anti-anxiety medication is addictive, and that in itself can be problematic too.
Yeah, that's what I just said. All that type of medication can be addictive, and therefore seeking help can be medically expedient.
But I find funny, though, is that they constantly, people on the other side, so to speak, constantly keep talking about men should show that they're vulnerable and blah, blah, blah. And then when they do, they make fun of it.
Yeah, of course. But not in that way, only in the precise, unknowable and unachievable way that we tell them to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But only briefly, because he's tired. By whom? Anyone daft enough? I mean, brave enough? I mean, anyone who wants to.
No, it's not replacing me. It's just for tonight.
It's me. I think I said replace. So that's
Right.
that's my fault. My sloppiness of language. They are looking for a volunteer. Well, I think as we talk about Democrats, we should have an American on. There's Richard and there's Nick. So, or Matthew, should I say?
Well, and Hannah. Ask Hannah. She's practically an expert on medications from experience. Okay, I wouldn't know that. But yeah, we haven't had.
How much do they pay?
I should be trying to get more people in. I mean, sorry, lately I haven't really done much. Normally I would invite a lot of people, but I haven't done that for a while. I should start doing that again. I'm sorry.
Well, I must admit, and I'm rubbish at it. I only know you lot, so. Yeah, the only place I know to post is the Discord.
God, sorry.
That's all right.
Man, yeah.
No, I do know the feeling, though. I was like that all morning. It was. Well, I would if I could contribute to a topic. Do you think that's ever stopped us, Michael? Do you think knowing anything has ever been relevant to talking on the screen?
Come on. I know everything.
Well, I know you do, but...
And that's me rounding down. Yes, we're very serious. And it's not even Saturday yet.
To be fair, I am on my third beer, so...
I am sorry, though.
But it sounds like we're keeping the old man from his bed, and it is later in Europe.
So, yeah. Well, people, if you want to continue, by all means do. But I am sorry, I can barely keep my eyes open. So I'm going to call it quits for me. And I hope to see you all Saturday. And yeah, thank you all for coming.
Okay. Oh, geez, this is where I get myself muddled up even more than normal.
You could call it quits too. I mean,
well, Michael's volunteered, and
oh,
where are we?
Well, in that case,
I'm pasting the Hangout link to you in Discord, young man.
I'll give you a moment before I leave.
Do I have a funnel and a hose? No, just a can and a glass. I used to only drink bottled beer, but since I've become more financially cautious, shall we say, I drink canned beer as well now because it's cheaper. Can't afford to be quite so snooty about the beer I drink. It tastes nearly as nice.
I haven't had a beer in a long time. But then again.
Not quite sure why having a funnel and a hose for the beer. Oh, is that one of those funny hat things? Yeah, I think the word being, you wouldn't find me dead wearing one of those would kind of apply.
Hello?
Hi there, Michael.
Hello, folks.
Hi, Michael. Perfect.
Well, Michael,
you pop up
here.
I'm going to say, you pop up
okay.
literally at the moment. Richard Bear says Michael Keller doesn't have Discord, and you appeared.
Well, I do have Discord, to be
I
honest.
know.
Yeah.
I'm just not on that fan Discord.
Fan Discord. You mean Modwayne's House of Fun?
No, I mean the Honey Badger.
Oh, the Honey Badger one. Okay. Yeah. No.
Crabs.
Me neither.
Ah, sorry, that was me. Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, we can still hear you. Anyway.
Okay, sorry for the echo.
No,
So
don't.
I'd like to thank you all for coming, and thank you for the well-wishing, Dimitris. I didn't see you come in earlier, though. But welcome, and good night all, and I hope to see you all Saturday. Bye-bye.
Night, Modern.
Okay. And so we've had a crab and a lobster. Or is that a shrimp? Looks more like a shrimp. I can't see the claws.
What are you talking about?
In the chat, Ludicrous is pasting emojis.
Well, the issue with the emojis I only see the small versions,
Ah, and you're going,
and
what the fuck is that?
I can't make up what it is.
Yes, I do understand.
It looks like a whip, to be honest.
Yes,
So
it does.
Ludicrous went BDSM again.
Yes, talking of degeneracy. Shrimp, it's a shrimp. Or as
It's
the
the way I can
Americans
change
might say, a prawn. Well, they call prawn shrimp, so I'm sure they call a shrimp prawn. Sorry.
Well, at least they don't call fries chips.
Whose language is it?
Chips?
Chips?
Fish and chips?
Yes,
I
exactly.
think that's British.
Yes, chips. They're
Yeah.
chip potatoes.
But they are fries because they
No.
get fried.
Yes, as are many other sorts of things, including potato products. But
Well, I guess one has to live on an island to understand this.
yeah, of course. This is why we live on an island.
You do, I don't.
Yeah, that's what I say. We, and I'm British, but I do not claim to be Britain. I am just one.
Oh, yes.
Of
So you meant
many...
all your personalities. Oh, got it.
Well, no, just some things that I take from my culture. I think that's normal to take some things from the culture in which you live and some things not from the culture in which you live. And somebody's doing a Rorschach test. Though, aren't they normally symmetrical?
That's a good question.
Because I thought they were
guess,
generally
they
formed.
took some ink on a paper, put it together, and
Yeah, so they were normally symmetrical. And it's like, what do you see? A blot. Are the potatoes sliced a different way for chips? The primary feature of French fries is they are very slim. That is but one of the many different ways of cutting potatoes. So in America, don't you have skins where you would take the potato, not peel it, and then leave the skin on? And so that's one style of chip. And we have regular cut, crinkle cut, steak cut, all different cuts of chip. And so yes, we would generally call fries just the very skinny ones. As in French fries.
I have images in my mind about John going to fry French. Ugh.
To fry French?
Well, yeah, like John Dark.
She wasn't fried. She was roast.
It's just a matter of definition, man.
Well, no, you fry things by putting them in oil. She would dry roast it.
This is me.
Sweet potatoes. I don't like sweet potatoes, I must admit. Don't like the texture of them or the taste of them. But then I'm very old-fashioned with my tastes.
Well, I do prefer the Mediterranean kitchen.
Yeah,
That means without pineapple.
Without pineapple, yes. Well, I must admit, yeah, and anything that turns a pizza into something that would be recognizable in America is a bad thing as far as I'm concerned. I've had some beautiful pizzas in Italy.
Well, nothing beats the original.
No, but they have about 200 types. It's really weird because you've got your standard very thin circular one, and then they do one in big trays that they sell from like little deli counters just as a small piece, and all sorts of other variations.
And don't forget the calzone.
Yes, I'm not a fan myself, just to say. Don't know why, just never. Chips fried in lard. Not very often these days, but of course.
Chips fried in lard.
It's how they get
Sounds
the flavour
like
of
something
the
come
chip.
from California.
No. Not lard in California.
No, chips fried in lard.
Yeah.
Chips California Highway Patrol.
Ah.
Fried in lard. They do have a issue with obesity, I heard.
No. The fried in lard is a traditional British way of doing it. It's how they get the flavour. Oh, I saw one where they had an egg. I thought, how the hell do you put an egg on a pizza?
More importantly, why put a banana on pizza? How sick can one be?
Well,
that's outrageous. Come on. A banana has nothing to do with pizza.
No. But then deep frying Mars bars.
Then again, it was in Ireland, so I guess it had to be expected.
Well,
ugh.
So parts of Ireland and parts of Scotland are very closely linked, right? And so I think if the Scots can batter and deep fry a Mars bar, then the Irish are going to say, we'll stick banana on our pizza.
Oh,
it's not too bad. Chips fried in bacon grease, that's harder. But bacon grease is generally a fantastic product, just saying. But then bacon is just, it's okay. The banana identifies as a pepper. There were some sick people
who put identifies as pepperoni. Well, good luck with that.
Sick people who put tomato on pizza.
Well, that's supposed to be on there.
Yeah, like most of them, ludicrous. I mean, you can get pizza without the tomato base, but a lot of them have it.
Well, or you can get a salad soup where they put ordinary green salad into water, heat it up, and serve it as a soup. I've seen it today, and oh god, it was awful.
Ugh. Yuck.
Ugh. A warm salad with French dressing in water and...
Oh, you mean with French dressing as well?
Yeah.
That sounds more like someone made a mistake and thought, let's try it. They might not notice.
No, they were serious about that.
dear. Still, they there's a chef in the UK called Heston Blumenthal, who is famous for his basically insane concoctions. I have blotted them all out of my mind, but basically it's you look at it and you go, I'm not eating that. Well, apparently there's a class of people which
Well,
actually seem to delight in eating the unedible and thinking themselves sophisticated as a consequence.
okay. I'm not sure if I understood that correctly.
I'll try and pull up an article on Heston Blumenthal. Well, surrender dressing. I don't really know.
No, Lab, that salad soup isn't fondue Ticino. It's not fondue at all. Not sure it was food at all.
Let's see, Heston Blumenthal. He's got 3 Michelin stars.
There's nothing to say. My car has 4 Michelin tires.
Yeah, but you can just buy those. Getting Michelin
Well,
stars,
so
let
you can do
alone.
with the Michelin stars.
It was also voted #1 in the world's 50 best restaurants in 2005.
By whom?
Michelin, presumably.
That would make sense, yeah.
Okay, let's see if I can find some of his foods.
You don't roast a raccoon, Richard.
Well, unless you want to make fun of it.
No, you're not roasting it. You cook it delicately in beer.
Okay.
Come on, have a little culture here, man.
Okay, so Heston
We are civilized,
Blumenthal's.
okay?
Okay, Heston Blumenthal's signature dishes. His most famous signature dishes include triple cooked chips. Okay, ignore that. Snail porridge. Bacon
Snail
and porridge.
as the thing the French eat.
Yes, in porridge, the thing the Scots eat.
Oh
Bacon and egg ice cream.
What?
I told you.
You Brits are sick, John. You're just sick.
He got 3 Michelin stars, mate. Not just us,
Oh
it's the
my
bloody
God.
French too.
Oh God, no. Come on, let's talk about the DNC instead. At least that doesn't make me that sick.
Well, not in the same way. Yeah.
Small difference.
No. Sorry, can I just answer Richard? No, it doesn't include a possum or raccoon. Those are not native
yet.
to the United Kingdom. Though we can.
You can always import these things.
Yeah. We have farms that do ostrich, alligator, kangaroo, things along those lines. Yes, we do have people who raise exotic creatures for consumption, but not that I've heard of yet from North America. The last time we invited a North American species over, it was a grey squirrel, and now the native British red squirrel is almost extinct.
Shark-grilled hedgehog.
Yep.
That's a thing.
Apparently.
Ugh. Well, still better than eating frogs, I guess.
Yeah, and snails.
Oh.
And then people Call us racist.
Well, if you eat
calling my
charcoal,
friends
hedgehog eat
friends
hedgehog eat snails. So essentially, you'd be eating snails when eating a hedgehog.
Okay. Well, guess what? I personally would never eat a hedgehog. I'm just saying. Not knowingly. One cannot quite attest to the ingredients in a burger van burger.
Well, I eat vegan and vegetarian for a reason, you know.
I thought it was because you were medically instructed.
That's vegan, medically instructed. But a
Yeah.
vegetarian, that's
Oh,
for a
you
reason.
were voluntarily vegetarian before you were vegan.
Yeah.
No, I'm afraid I am a horrendous carnivore. I do like meat. Go to China. Yeah,
You're not
I've heard
carnivore,
about
you
that.
are omnivore. You don't bite a living animal. You eat from a dead animal. That means you're omnivore.
No. Omnivore means a mixed carnivore herbivore diet.
So you just eat meat then.
No, when I say I'm a carnivore, I just mean that I like
You
eating
just
meat.
did.
Yeah.
You just said you're a carnivore.
I said, when I say I'm a carnivore, I am saying so as a way of expressing myself as a non-vegetarian.
John, I don't believe we have the habit of changing the language like they did in 1984. Or at least could we agree on the same grammar and
Hell
meaning of
no,
words
where's the
before?
fun? Where's the fun?
But I could
Sorry.
start speaking German if that would make it easier for you.
It would
You
probably
wouldn't
make
understand
it.
it.
No, I wouldn't. That's fine. I have no issues with
Ludicrous is a
that.
Canarian? Carnitarian. Oh, sorry, I misread that line.
Sorry. It's just what's the word? Saying you're a carnivore is just a way. It's just a informal way of saying you're not a vegetarian. It's just meant to say I eat meat and I'm proud of the fact, as opposed to the fact that they try to shame people for being meat eaters. Baked bat sandwich.
Just replied, I shall leave Batwoman out of the equation.
Yeah,
Show is as bad as it is.
I must admit, I'm not a fan of rodents. I tried rabbit. I'm not a fan. I'm glad Modwin's gone to bed, but I have eaten rabbit. I've had it served to me. I've never bought rabbit. But you can buy it. And of course, the guinea pig was a very popular meal to sailors way back in the day. What other rodents do people eat regularly?
Well, whatever makes you happy, I guess.
I was just pondering, because rodents is quite a wide family of mammal, and group of mammals. But I tend to like the pure herbivores. Yeah, Toxic Threads was saying that in Korea they have dogs. They eat dog. And my understanding was it wasn't wise to eat other carnivores. There's something about the meat that isn't as healthy as eating herbivore. Yes.
I have a big question mark hovering above my head and I don't know why.
Okay. You didn't get your roof fixed?
Oh, well, yeah. Some way, yeah.
Sorry. That's just my sense of humour. Yes, I love that joke. I'd try squid in the local Chinese place. During the meal, I was asked what I thought. I said, it's very rubbery. The waiter said, oh, thank you, thank you. That's awful ludicrous. That is awful. So that sort of set my mind going on a tangent.
Why did I come online? Why did I come online?
So,
Instant regret, folks. Instant regret.
of course, act in haste, repent at leisure. So, you were telling us about the Swiss elections. How did they go?
As expected, one can say.
Mm-hmm.
The established parties have lost a bit. The Green Party gained a bit. And now it's an interesting situation because we don't have a government as other countries because we Swiss are the government. And now we have how to say it, the Bundesrat, the Federal Council, they need to be re-elected in December. And we have a system that's called concordance, which means the three biggest party have 2 seats and the next big one has 1 seat in the executive.
Okay.
And now we have the issue that the People Party, the right-wingers, have 26%. The socialists, the Social Party, well, there's no big difference. Name is correct. They have 16 or 17%.
Yeah.
The Liberals, the Christ Democrats, and the Green parties have all about 15%.
Okay.
One has 15.7, one has 15.2, and the Green has barely reached 15%. So actually, we have the situation that the CVP, the Christ Democrats, would have to give up their seat because they have less. Oh, I said it wrong. Sorry. The Green have 15.2 and the Christ things have 15.1.
Yeah.
The People Party, Socialists, Liberals, and the Christians are in the executive at the moment, and now the Christ Democrats would have to give up their seat in the executive, but they don't want to.
Naturally, yeah.
Yes, who wants to give up power? The FDP has 2 seats and is the biggest one of the 3 small ones. Socialists and People Party undeniably have 2 seats. The issue when the People Party reached over 20%, some 3 or 4 elections ago, they said, "Oh no, you have to repeat that result so we can get you in," because the People Party was the smallest country back then. Party, I mean, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
And they had just 1 seat. They repeated it and exceeded the result over and over again. Then the socialists said, no. It's about the topics of the parties that have to be represented.
Oh, for goodness sake. So in
Yes,
other words,
exactly.
they keep redefining the rules to whatever suits them.
Exactly. But now the issue is the parties have almost the same programs. It's about, you name it,
Yeah.
It's all the same shit anyway. Sorry for swearing.
Why? We swear all the time, so don't apologize.
Well, okay. Anyway, now we have the situation that there's no argument they brought up against the People Party that cannot be applied to the Christians.
Yeah.
Equals in they have one way out to solve the issue without the Christ Democrats losing their seat. That would be the Liberals giving up one of their 2 seats because the small 3 parties are so close together that they actually would share the 3rd place.
Yeah.
That would be the clean solution in my opinion. Otherwise, the Christ Democrats would have to leave because they repeatedly lost the last 3 elections. The Greens have won in the last 3 elections, and there's no other way because the concordance is somewhat important because the executive represents the country to the outside. They didn't a good job in the last 30 years, I believe, but they still do. And if the concordance is broken, we are going to change into a government that's like opposition and government, and I can't see this to work out in Switzerland, to be honest.
Well, it's not working too great anywhere else either, to be honest.
It's always like that because the opposition is against what the government does, and then they are in government again because they were against what the others did, and well, hooray, so they are suddenly for it, and those that have been voted away are suddenly against it. Ugh.
Yeah, I mean,
Just look at
people no
Germany.
longer. Yeah, I mean, people no longer support policies because of what they believe. They support them to be against the other side, and that's the worst reason to take any stance, isn't it? But no,
These politicians don't realize it. That's
they
even
do.
worse.
They do. They just don't admit to realizing it.
Well, I wouldn't say that because the socialists, with their 16%, think they are the biggest party in Switzerland, with the biggest representation in Switzerland. Where I ask, hey guys, do you know the difference between 16% and 26%?
Yeah, but this is the thing, though, isn't it? It doesn't matter what their electoral position is. These people, they
are delusional.
They're delusional. They think they are right, and because they are right, they are the majority, and because of that, and they take themselves through these irrational trains of reasoning, and it's like what they need is to be told to shut up and go away.
And the sad part, that happens in Switzerland quite often, 4 times a year when we have votings. Issue is, socialists are keeping ignoring the results of the votes.
Yeah. Well,
and it's not like it's like something in the UK where you have a vote, shall we do this or not? And there's actually no prescribed way how to deal with these results. If an initiative has been accepted by the people via a vote, it becomes part of the Swiss constitution, meaning following parties are currently breaking the constitution because they still negotiate with the European Union to join them.
Yeah.
Socialists, liberals, Christ Democrats, and the Greens.
Yeah.
We voted 3 fucking times to join the EU, and every time we said nay, last time we had 80% nay, and they're still pushing for it.
Yeah. Well.
And then they keep wondering why people start voting for the Swiss People Party, the Eidgenössische Demokratische Union, which is even more right than the People Party or the Swiss Democrats who are really right. They're not yet Nazis, but Swiss People Party is called the right party, but they are about as right as the CSU in Germany is.
Yeah, I mean,
just a little right to the center.
There aren't many right-wing parties in Europe.
Yeah, but
because even parties that suddenly think, you know what, let's look after the national interest and not subsume it to some totalitarian European project, is called right-wing, when all the same is we don't agree with the globalist agenda. It's all the same, and they can be socially left to centre on everything, and they can be economically centre on everything. Doesn't matter. They still get branded right wing because they don't want to be subsumed into the EU.
That's what we call being Swiss. Because being Swiss doesn't mean to have no opinion. It's just we have opinion depending on the question. Equaling in one topic you can be left.
Yeah.
For the other you're more on the right, then you're more center.
That's called common sense. But to the ideologue, it is heresy. Heresy. As in going against the doctrine.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay. But yeah, it's heresy. You're not allowed to take a personal, thoughtful position on anything. You must follow the dogma.
Well, Richard, the Nazi Party actually was left. That's in the name, National Socialists.
Yep.
The only difference was they didn't want to be without borders, they wanted to have borders. That was the only difference. They were a left party.
Well,
And Antifa is just a terrorist group. They are no longer left to me. They're just terrorists.
they're as left as communists, which is not at all, as they were founded by communists.
And now I get it. I've always wondered why everybody kept saying real communism has never been tried.
Yeah.
Now I get it. It was a typo. It needs to be said. Real communists have never been trialed. The epiphany of the day.
My karma ran over my dog. Yes. No, so my solution to all these lefties is to introduce 2 years mandatory hard labour in fields before they go to university.
Well, we had that. We weren't so based on the theoretical approach to universities. We had a dual system in Switzerland, where you either went to what we called high school to get the pre-diploma to go to university, or you could have made an apprentice and go from there. Before Bologna, meaning before the European Union wanted to equalize, centralize the academic system, we mostly went to an apprenticeship. It's easier to speak the words by each other, not at the same time. And from there, you went to university or College of Applied Sciences and so on. And it worked out very well. People knew how to work, especially the males went to the basic training between apprentice and the college because we have the mandatory draft. So everybody had a sense of working together with people you wouldn't normally talk to, how to do risky jobs and get, what is it called? If you are handed a task which can be dangerous to others, it is your
duty.
The duty to see that nobody gets harmed. Then it's your
So you become
responsibility.
Responsible, yeah.
That thing. And so everybody was essentially grown up when going to college, ready to make up his own mind, yet still learning. But we have now today those theoretical, indoctrinated.
Well, okay, so I keep hearing all these theories about how the education process extends childhood because people don't get any responsibility because they're always within a system. It's always finance, etc. Right? So my idea is simply, before you're allowed to enter higher education, you have to do something useful. It was a joke about the hard labour. I don't mean hard labour, but the point is, if people go out and work, okay, say get 2 years work credits or something before they go to university, they'll at least understand the real world a little bit.
True. So true.
I mean, no, there are no perfect solutions, right? You can look at problems, you can say, but the fact is there is a fundamental problem happening now, and part of that problem happens because so much of the population don't become even aware of the need for responsibility or work or anything until well into their 20s. And as a species, we're supposed to do that a decade earlier. And it's not healthy to have all these mid-20-year-olds who are still basically children.
Yeah. then again, humanity is getting older.
No, I know. But the
But yeah,
problem
I
is
see your point, John.
biologically, certain things haven't shifted. Women still best off having children in their early 20s. It's just, that's a health issue, and yes, that's less true for men. But what used to happen is many men, and the reason we have this whole culture of older men with younger women was many men had to go out and become financially attractive to a potential wife. And if you start life with nothing, you've got to go out and become successful and establish yourself and save up money, and that takes time. And so you would have men in their 30s being attractive to young women. And guess what's happening right now? You hear of the young women being attracted to older established men, because that's what happens. And we actually have a culture which disables young men in the main from being able to establish themselves until their 30s, because they're spending until their mid-20s in university.
Yeah, but on the other hand, they have to, because otherwise they won't get a job where they can earn enough money to out-earn women, so they are attracted to them.
Oh no,
Janice Fiamengo just had a video about this today.
oh yeah, no, I'm not. Again, there's a fundamental difference between criticizing any individual and just analyzing what's happening and seeing where the flaws are.
Okay, yeah.
And that's what I was doing. I was just saying this is what is happening and drawing a parallel between the reports I hear of women now being attracted to older men and that being the case 200 years ago, because the same fundamental issues arise that the men have to become sufficiently established and financially attractive for the women, and the women are like, well, okay, this man my age might be hot, but I don't want to live in crappy conditions.
Yeah, alpha fucks, beta bucks.
Yeah, and weather thing. And here's the thing: so the feminists will say, "Oh, that's a pressure weather," and I just say, "Well, no, I'm just trying to describe reality. I'm not trying to judge it. I'm not trying to say what's right or wrong. I'm just trying to say this is what's happening." But then I believe far too many people are going into higher education because so much of what they're studying is useless.
Well, yeah, but that has to do with the Bologna system. When I started my college, I was over 30 years old, because I just wanted to work, and when I became unemployed, I said, "Well, hey, fuck it, I need a job." Yeah.
Yeah.
I started off in the old diploma courses, meaning I would have had 3 years of education, real education, I should add, and then I would have had my degree and possibly a job, or at least the knowledge to create my own business, which would have been possible back in the day. Unfortunately, I missed the mandatory class by being in a hospital.
Yes, that's not good, is it?
Yeah, that starts off very well, and it didn't get any better. So I had to restart in the new system, in the Bologna, because it was either start in Bologna or don't study. That was the choice we had. And everybody who chose to study in Bologna has chosen Bologna over the diploma. That was the second part. I should have said, "Oh, no, thanks, not at this college." But well, in the aftermath, we all know better. And yeah, and then I was in the Bologna, and I started off. And God damn it, the stuff we learned in the first semester of the diploma was scheduled for the first 3 semesters in the bachelor. Meaning 1 semester extended to 3 semesters, and I swear my co-students, quote unquote, still had issues with the speed of learning all this. And I was sitting there and thinking, my God, what's going on?
Yeah.
And it is essentially the strange situation, because you have now 6 semesters of Bologna
Mm-hmm.
to get your bachelor, and to have the same degree with the same knowledge you had in the old 3-year diploma.
Mm.
You now need to not only add 4 semesters of master degree, you also have a NDS. That's what we call Nachdiplom Studiengang. That's after your diploma, you go again to study and things. You have to add 2 NDS next to your master to have the same knowledge as the old diploma. Meaning you are about studying for, shall we say, 6 or 7 years, depending on how you luck out at the tests.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, a
Jesus.
3-year degree. You have now to study 7 years.
And all the
I can
time.
understand every student needing 7 years to get a valuable knowledge he can actually use. And just because the European Union needed to fuck with the education system.
Yeah, it sounds like a
At my College of
money-making.
Applied Sciences we had 4 students coming from the MIT,
Yeah.
Michigan Institute of Technology, that
No,
number one
Massachusetts,
university,
but
you know?
anyway, Massachusetts Institute.
Yeah, pronunciation, man, come on.
I thought you said Michigan, which is a different state.
Oh, Michigan. Oh, sorry. Well, it's 1:30 over here. It's early.
No, it's fine. I was just clarifying.
By the way, Michigan, Massachusetts, it's all in the United States. Come on. No, anyway, we had those 4 students coming over to Switzerland to our College of Applied Sciences,
Mm-hmm.
which actually is the lowest part. They didn't go to the École Polytechnique in Lausanne or to the ETH in Zurich. No.
Mm.
To the College of Applied Sciences, because those MIT students who scored out, shall we say, 80% of all American students
Mm.
weren't good enough for ETH or the Polytechnic. You mentioned that they didn't even go to universities, but to College of Applied Sciences, and they still had the higher education.
Mm.
Then they changed to Bologna. One of these MIT students started over with me and essentially quit. Said, with that new system, they better study at the MIT, get the better knowledge. At least there they only need 5 years instead of 7.
Jeez.
Yeah.
No, but
I'm not.
all this, right, before they can earn a penny or do anything constructive in society. This is what bothers me, because in the UK, Tony Blair did this. He goes, well, we're losing our industrial capacity, so we're going to be a knowledge economy. So we're going to
Good
have
luck.
to have everyone educated. Okay. Well, just going to university in and of itself means nothing. What are they going to study? To what standard are they going to study it? Okay. But then, because the old system was heavily subsidized through the tax system, it's, we're going to have to increase fees directly to the student because we can't afford it. And so not only have you got a lot of people studying useless things, but they are incurring huge amounts of debt for the pleasure of studying useless things.
It's not only about useless things, John. I was talking about business informatics.
No. That's not what.
But
No.
There is an issue
I know
connected to it.
No, I know.
I know the point I want to make, but there's another issue to it.
No, I know. There's lots of issues, but that's not the point I'm trying to make. And so the problem is then you say, as you say, but you have to get a degree to get any kind of a job. And why is that? Simply because the number of people with degrees has become so high, it becomes a very simple heuristic for an employer to filter out some of the applicants.
Yes, that's the point I wanted to make. I call it educational inflation.
Yeah.
It's completely worthless, but there is hope. There is hope. In Germany, Switzerland, and parts of France, companies already started to filter out those who studied and employ those who didn't.
Yes, because the studying is actually detracting from the value as an employee, not adding to it.
Yeah. They studied so long, think they know everything better, have no
Well, and
idea
they've been
on how world
indoctrinated.
really is.
Yeah, they've been
Yeah, at
indoctrinated
the
into
indoctrination, yeah.
nonsense, into being entitled, into being, or burger, bachelor's degree in burger frying. Yes, no,
Well,
it's,
yeah.
but yeah, no,
Bachelor of Arts in car driving.
but
It's
the
gonna be
the
true for
problem
CDL
is
drivers.
the government has an incentive because they've taken a huge swathe of the population and essentially pacified them because they're incurring all these people with this debt, and then people are essentially cowed because they have to pay off the debt. So they've been put into a form of bondage to the state.
Well, I wouldn't say bondage to the state, but to the system, because it depends on how or where they get the scholarships, the loans, and so on. If they got it from the states, yes, they are bound to the states. If they got it from a company or so, or from a bank, or if they finance it by themselves, well, then they are screwed anyway. Trust me on that.
Yeah, that's true. But the state is the one actually mandating and controlling and forming the system, and therefore, I mean, in the UK, I can't talk about other places, but in the UK, all the rules are set by government. What yes, you can get a loan
Uh,
outside of the government system, but it's still under the rules defined by the government, if you know what I mean. The government says what caps on fees are, how low they can be, how high they can be, etc. So the government doesn't. The government can privatize the running of the system. Doesn't care. It still gets the same subservient people who are too scared and too desperate to fight and upset the system because they are legally liable for these debts. Yeah.
Atlas is going to shrug one day. What
Yeah.
does this mean?
Atlas Shrugged was a book by that libertarian woman. What was her name? What names? It's one of those names I recognise when I see it. But she has a lot of acolytes, especially amongst the student right as opposed to the student left, and they usually totally fail to understand it. What a load of bollocks, as far as I'm concerned. But then there's a
Well,
school of
as for,
thought, and it's all totally left my head. I'm sorry. Richard Bay will be able to tell me who wrote Atlas Shrugged.
but well, anxious. There is actually a formal training in Switzerland too for the CDL drivers. Well, it goes for the European Union too. We call it Ausweis 95, which means a special training, testing, and so on that you can drive lorries or buses for commercial purposes.
Ayn Rand,
And,
there you go. Thank you.
it closes down for well, Bachelor of Arts in Truck Driving.
Yes.
I'm not joking, man. It's
No,
just a question of time
I
until they
can
make it mandatory.
honestly, I can honestly believe that, mate. Honestly believe it. But yes,
But yeah, Richard, the training I mentioned wasn't just how to drive them. It's also how to do the loading, the whole legal things, and you name it.
yeah,
To being allowed driving a lorry,
yeah,
that's a special driver's license. But if you want to go CDL, you have to have that special training.
yeah. Well, here CDL is mandatory, and they're basically bureaucratizing another industry so that there's
Yeah.
no scope for small independence. Everything is based on large bureaucracies. But yeah.
Well, waiters do get BAs over here anxious, but just because they work there to earn money for the studies. So they actually get a bachelor's degree, but not for waiting.
Yeah. The people with bachelors who are waiters, not waiters who need bachelors. But yeah, Renovatia says,
Waitresses need bachelors, or some special, sensible waiters do need bachelors too, yeah.
common
Don't be
sense.
against family, John.
No, well, I'm against all sorts of things. Bullshit, mostly. So Renovatio says, I've listened to some of the new woke law lecturers. It's not law they are teaching, it's social justice as must in legalese. Okay, here's the thing. We only have to look at the sorts of judgments coming out in the ones I've heard of mostly are Britain and America to know that, well, Canada as well, sorry, that this has been happening for a long time, Renovatio. You know, you don't get some of the decisions being made, such as they will give years and years to an awkward young man for touching a girl on the waist. And yet there are women who can commit violent crimes and get let off. If that's not ideological, I don't know what it is, because shocking. But yeah, no, I
Don't
think
know what to say to this.
no, I think what you said, you have to have a degree to get a job. I think that is a phase. See, the fundamental problem is what they call them, human resources departments. They are such a problem because they are essentially a law to themselves that are a tail wagging the dog of the business. Because what happens is, say you're in some area of expertise and you're a manager, you say, right, I want to put out an advert for a job. But you won't have time yourself to vet all the applications. That'll be narrowed down for you by someone in HR who doesn't actually have any knowledge of the subject in question.
Sounds familiar.
They'll just be going by a buzzword list or something, right? And so the candidates, the expert, the manager actually gets to see is a biased one, not biased according to anything to do with the subject, but according to the prejudices of HR.
Yeah.
And
Man, I have flashbacks to job interviews I've had.
yeah, yeah. And it's yeah. So you know, and this is what all these useless degrees are doing, because they're putting people into places like HR with these insane notions in their head, and then they are shaping the employees of companies based on no factors pertinent to doing the job, only to do with their own. You know, it's like that mathematics syllabus defined by the gender study. That you know, was it gender studies? I said gender studies person in Seattle.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Oh yeah. Or if we have to have gender studies in this or that class, it has nothing to do with it. And yeah. So
Sorry, I'm laughing at Richard Bayer's comment. Yes.
But Richard, they don't include the tip. If a woman looks great, she gets more tip than a man.
Well, that's sexual harassment, isn't it?
Well, yeah. But does it matter? It happened to a man, so
No, I meant the woman getting more tip. I'm just being smutty.
Yeah.
Don't ignore
Ah.
me.
Can't ignore you, then I'm talking to myself, and that's boring.
No, I meant on specific things, not ethnic mathematics. The world has gone mental. Yes. What is sad isn't that some idiot proposes these things. It's that the other idiots go along with them.
Mathematics. Oh God, yeah, now I get it. Remember when mathematics was about numbers? Now it's about ethics.
Well, I mean, the thing is this: they start off with basic lies. So they say, "Oh, mathematics is seen from a white colonialist perspective, which is why we have Arabic numbers, which are really Hindu numbers, and it's like." And then, they also said there were these empires of people of color, and then they go on about how it's the white people, and it's like, but you've just said there were empires of people of color.
Yeah.
Were those empires purely benevolent ones, like the European Union tends to be? Oh yeah, good night, Ludicrous. They have a plan. Yes, they do. That's what's so scary, Dimitri. They have lots and lots of plans. That's what I was saying about feminism. You don't have to care about them. They care about you.
Was this feminist mathematics renovatio? Well, Richard, that happened in Australia actually, but I don't think that cafe is still open. I think
no, it had to close because it was a financial disaster. And needless to say, it was in Melbourne.
Well,
which is supposedly the Portland of Australia.
Well, Melbourne, no more questions, Your Honor.
But yes.
Go woke, go broke. Literally.
Yes. See, this is how good feminism is. Feminism. We can't have separate sex schools because that's divisive. And the girls, because at that time girls were doing worse than boys, right?
Well, you can have separated schools, John. The question is just how you sell it to them.
No.
Oh,
I'm
do
talking
it separately
historically
because
no,
women can.
Sorry. I'm talking historically. So they said, right, way back in the 60s, you can't have separated schools because that's divisive, right? And then fast forward. Okay. Now it's girls are doing better. We need separate schools. It's how they work. Everything's a lie. Everything.
Well, there are women. I'm sorry to say, but women are known to change their minds.
Well,
that's why they
it's
are
not because
dangerous,
they're
in my
women, it's
opinion.
because they're mental. And there are plenty of men who are more than prepared to buy into it for immediate personal short-term advantage.
Well, yeah. But I wouldn't call that mental, except every woman is mental, because
no, every woman isn't mental. Come on.
Yeah, but then it's part of the, shall we say, female being of the double X chromosome, so to speak.
No.
Because I haven't met a single woman that didn't change her mind about things she was fully I forgot the word again.
Are you calling me a woman? Because I can do that. It's called being
I
human.
don't know. John, you know.
It's called
Gender
being
is
a
a social
human.
construct. Maybe you have been born with a double X chromosome. I don't know
No,
you.
no. Double X is sex. You said gender is a social construct. Not about gender. We talk about sex. I
Well, in the feminist
maintain a
newspeak, gender
very
means sex.
no. I maintain a very rigorous distinction between the two. Sex is
And that proves
biology.
it that you're a
There
woman.
are two sexes. You are not assigned at birth. You are born with a sex determined by your chromosomes. It's biology. Get over it. Gender, don't give a shit. You be you. Just leave me out of it. Not you, but the world in general.
Well, this I understood.
I did a video why I won't use the G word, G being gender, because it's bollocks. Because everyone seems to muddle up the interpretation of the two in ways that just happen to suit their narrative. Whereas if you keep sex as sex and gender as gender, arguments are much simpler and much clearer.
Well, yeah, the issue is also, as I've written in the chat when Modwin was talking, transsexuals and transgender are different things.
Mm-hmm.
It's just because of that. Transsexuals are against transgenders, not because they are exophobe, but because they know the difference. And I think, and the transgenders are those who are on Tinder, I believe. Not Tinder. What was that other platform? Where some teenies were confused about what they are, and they confused sexuality or sexual orientation with gender and sex. And that's why we have now 76 different genders, or how many there are. Because some people were confused not going to school, like Holy Greta. It's always the same. Confused teenies not going to school, not having the knowledge to decide, and the world goes haywire.
Sorry, I'm just sorry.
I have to keep up to the chat here.
No, exactly, Renovazio. That's what I say. There's no truth in it. No truth in it. It's funny, I watched a Diana Davison video today, and she was talking about how you have to watch the terms they use. And I've been banging on about this for years. I say you have to pay attention to the adjectives, because that's how they colour the what they say. So you can take something that sounds can be truthful on the face of it, and people argue about the truth of it, but with the point is the adjectives, the way they taint the meaning.
Oh, you mean like Europol? That's like Interpol just for Europe. Did with crime doesn't have a gender, where they put up some masked people who are currently wanted for several felonies. Then you can read what they did, why they are wanted, and so on. And then you can click on a link to unmask the searched one, and then you see mostly women. Feminists went berserk against this, obviously.
Of
because,
course, yeah, because women never do nothing ever.
Yeah. Rule number 1, women don't do anything wrong. Number 2, if they do something wrong, rule number 1 automatically applies. Yeah.
Well, actually, it's funny because I was listening to Douglas Murray talking with Brett Weinstein. And Douglas Murray, some of the feminist positioners, actually deliberately denying women are responsible. I mean, this is the first time I've heard someone cite that as if they have citations for it. But it's the sort of thing that the honey badgers talk about all the time. It's like, feminists are trying to strip women of any accountability that is holding them responsible. And
Well, they do want to have the rights, but not the duties. And
but apparently there is a strand of feminist thinking where that is the formal position, that because we live in a patriarchy, women cannot be held accountable for anything they do.
Yeah, those misogynies, yeah. Richard, what do you mean with Facebook? Well, I know what Facebook is, but what do you mean with that sentence?
Well, it's not a sentence so much as more a word.
Yeah, that too.
Damn mansplainers. Yes, well, don't you love a movement which claims to rail against sexist language suddenly come out with a whole slew of sexist terms?
Well, that's the inclusive movement, Be inclusive, accept those we don't like.
Well, no, it's like
Which
you can't have
we
fire
old folks
man.
would call exclusive then.
You can't fire man, but you can have mansplainer. Even though many more women, or no, manterrupting is the best one, because many more women are interrupters compared to men than firefighters compared to men.
How dare you speak the truth, John?
I
How
know.
dare you, sir?
Facts and logic are tools of the white patriarchy. I don't call myself an evil white male for nothing,
Well, yeah.
Though, as everyone keeps pointing out these days, evil, pale peachy coloured male.
Well, lucky for me, I am very pale.
Lucky for you. Is that fortunate?
Well, at least I'm not peachy. Even though I start to look like a peach, for Christ's sake, I have to go on with my diet. Oh, he was talking about the 76 genders, I see.
Yeah, I didn't pick that up. Well, the number of genders is one of these.
Fluids.
Yes, it's fluid. That's a good term. Also, I was going to say unsolvable issues because it will never be this constant. I mean, Toxic Threads has done a number of videos on listing them, and they literally have several that are the same. So, for instance, they'll have MTF, and then they'll have male to female. Even
Count that
though,
separately?
yes, separately. Even though they are literally the same thing, except one's abbreviated and one's not. This is how bad the list is.
One question. Are aliens from outer space considered to be their own gender?
Why?
Because if yes, I'm going to identify myself as an alien from Sirius. Living in the doghouse.
Oh, right, yeah.
Sirius dogs.
Yes, Sirius the dog star.
Queer erasure? Who's Queer Erasure? Is this a channel?
No. It's a concept. It's in order to maximize their victimhood and generate another fake crisis. The queer people are complaining that there is this queer erasure aimed to erase them, even though that is literally no one.
Anxious, you need to identify with your label. Does this mean I'm an alien from outer space, from Sirius B? My pronouns are woo 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 and bark bark bark. Now I killed John.
Why?
Ah, you're still there. Okay.
Sorry, I thought you were saying you will kill John, not you had killed John. No, I was just
Yes, I
trying
promised
to
you an old
think.
Victorian disembodiment ceremony, right?
I was trying to think
Has
of
to wait.
my gender, and I was pondering evil white male or miserable git. I'm Marvin gendered. I think that's the one. If just pick a word, Marvin gendered.
What is a space one? They really have one?
I'm sure they have. Well,
Oh my
either
God,
that
I
or
feel so normal.
oh yeah, astrogen.
I'm not going to tattoo on my forehead.
No, I think that's definitely a joke.
I'm gonna brand it.
Hey, I've got an
wire.
idea. How about little yellow stars you put on your jacket?
But only for the celestial ones.
No. I mean, well, they can have other colours because they are a rainbow after all. So you have a different coloured star, and you wear it to identify you from afar.
Wasn't that an idea in the last what was that conference for the gamers? Didn't they had the theory that those transgenders must write their pronouns there, but they let it go because it would remind them of that certain time? Well, 1933 to 1945.
Well, that's where I
those
took the
could have
idea
been,
from.
and John, and there would have been those who would have been offended, so they let it go, leading to lots of trans idiots being misgendered, mislabeled, and misspelled, whatever. Ugh. I can't think about that. I'm going into brain tilt.
No, I know. I mean,
Swamp.
yes, I know. It's like they don't understand anything, and then they go, right, we want you to fundamentally change the way we do pronouns, which utterly contradicts the whole purpose and function of pronouns and how they operate at a basically subconscious level. And the reason you have pronouns of male and female is because you're reacting to visual clue. And you've already had cases. I mean, it happened to my wife where she was misgendered because somebody mistook her for a man from behind. And it was like, oh, no
Ouch.
problem. No, it was like, no problem, whatever. She had short hair, narrow hips. Not a big deal, right? The problem is they want to institute a system where you cannot detect a person's gender, probably because you've never heard of it, and then simultaneously to be offended by the fact you can't recognize their gender. That is just the
Brings me
definition
to an
of
interesting
stupidity.
question. Imagine this. What you just said becomes true, and we are no longer able to determine if someone is male, female, in between, a talking cockroach, or something.
Yeah.
Now you're going to shake hands with a person you don't know. You do shake hands because it is asked to do so. You know you aren't allowed to do it to a woman because she might feel uncomfortable doing so.
Or she
But
might
you
be
are,
Islamic and it's against her religion.
yeah, or something like this, and now you are sitting in front of that something you can't make sense of. You shake hand. turns out it is a woman. So is that something now allowed to assume you being a man committing a crime against a woman, even though it wasn't clear what that it is?
Yeah, I mean that they are deliberately destroying how society functions. They are attacking language. They are destroying the concept of law, so that the point of law is that within bounds, okay, that there are exceptions, but within bounds, you can go out and behave lawfully and thus not have a no expectation of arrest or prosecution because you did something without being aware of it, right? And they've turned that on its head, so that now you can be guilty, not just accused, but guilty of an offence without any intent or even knowledge on your part, because you cannot know what the rules are. This is not accidental, in my view.
Speaking of it, I was just reminded to one of the Star Trek novels I've read a few years ago. Do you know Star Trek? The real Star Trek, not that STD one. Yeah, because there was a species called the Breen. They were wearing masks, cooling units, and so on. And in that novel, they explored the Breen a little. One moment. Sorry, try to cover the mic. Well, where did I stop? Hello?
Something about the Breen.
Yeah, okay, I'm back in business. They explored the Breen homeworld and found out that they're wearing masks because they are a society, as you have described, so no one can make out which species they are, which gender, which whatever. But the only difference between the social justice warriors and the Breens had a fixed set of rules how to behave with each other. So that, as you said, the not knowing the rule sets, can you be punished for it, and so on, can't happen.
There was something very interesting. I think it was, you know, the Thursday night stream where it's like Hannah, and then she'll have people like Lauren and Karen on. And they were talking about this, about how there would be these games at high school, and the women, the group would essentially have fluid rules, and the rules would be getting settled, and then the boys would be happy once the rules were settled, so everyone knew what the rules were. And that was the precise point the girls lost interest, because it was the fluidity and the whole concept of not having fixed rules, because it's not about what the rule is, it's about social groups, right? So it's like, if you suggest a rule, who's going to follow you? And they'll follow you because they keep trying to keep in with you, and that is the game the girls were playing. Whereas the boys were like, no, we just want some settled rules so we can actually play the game. And the girls are like, well, we don't really care about the game. We just want to do this thing with the rules where they're constantly changing, because it's all about social power and social interaction.
But there are no differences between men and women.
And this sounds like the feminization of the law, because if that's the way women work, and I'm not saying all women, but you know, you could say that the feminists are the most extreme in womenness, which is the irony, because they push for equality, but they are at the opposite end of men, right? And probably why they have to have a social movement to do it, because if they were more like men, they wouldn't find it so difficult to just do the same things. Instead, they have to complain and bitch and moan and then change everything to be the way they want it instead of the way men want it. And so this perpetual need or system of changing so you never know what the rules are would feel natural to somebody of that inclination. Especially as they always write the rules so that they're fine.
They not only write the rules, they amend the rules.
Yeah, but
Sometimes
that's what I
without
meant.
saying.
That's what I meant. Sorry, I was using the words imprecisely, but I'm just saying they're the ones who keep changing the rules, but they always keep changing the rules so that, but they're never going to fall foul. Which is why when you get Me Too, and the minute men try to Me Too women, it's like, no, you can't have that. Because that is them putting them on the potentially the wrong side. But the whole point is for them to never be on the wrong side.
Yeah. Old rule number 1, women can't do wrong. Rule number 2, if they do, rule number 1 applies.
Yeah. And people look at it and they say, oh, they're being, why won't they let men in? Because the point is, as you say, the first point is that they can never be in the wrong. Whatever rules they define or change, they are free and clear. They never did anything wrong. And the minute you start trying to apply the rules more widely so that they are brought back in, they object.
Yeah. Like Zoe Quinn, for example.
Especially Zoe Quinn. Yeah, it's just, and so what you get is you get these dysfunctional people, I don't want to use terms I don't really understand.
Hey, I am dysfunctional. I'm taking offense by this, okay?
Okay, you take whatever you like. I haven't got a fence. I've got a wall, and it's quite heavy. So, but if you can take it, away you go. There you go. It's not you, anxious Aussie. As I say, they are not normal. I was earlier describing how they'd studied the men who were violent criminals, and they function as a separate phenotype. You'll probably find the same for those women. They function as a separate phenotype.
Well,
quit
saves
complaining.
apologizing when we are wrong. Anxious, I have to say, never apologize.
Yeah.
Ask for forgiveness.
No.
If you've done something to harm, ask for forgiveness. Never apologize for doing something. Stand to what you have done.
But it says more efficient, quit complaining. No, that's all the feminists do is complain. And if you fix the thing they're complaining about, they will just reframe it so that the thing you've now done is what's wrong, even though that's what they were literally asking for 5 minutes ago. Yeah, exactly, Richard. Exactly. It's all about reframe. But what they do is they claim it's about the action. And then
they claim it's about equality. But that's why we have
different
what I'm saying,
the things they moan about. They claim it's about the action that's wrong. Then the minute you can demonstrate it's women do the same thing too, it's no. Stop muddying the water. It's our. I mean, you literally hear them say this. It's our issue. Can't we have one issue? No. No, you can't. Not when at the heart of it is hypocrisy.
Well, the world would be happy if feminists would have just one issue. But they have so many.
No, they have one issue. They're feminists. That's their only issue. Everything else is a tactic.
No,
seriously.
Thoughts and symptoms.
Everything is a tactic. Because, as I say, if you, it's like education. Women are doing worse in education. It's because the education system is designed for men and women are discriminated against.
And that's why women are better in school.
Implement positive positive changes for women, feminize the education system, give women special treatment at special scholarships and programs and higher education. Women start to do better. Women keep doing better. Don't slow down all the programs for women. Just keep going. Then all of a sudden, men are doing worse. It's because women are better.
And obviously, it's men's fault.
So when men are doing better, that's discrimination. But women are doing better, it's because men are worse.
Bye, anxious.
Yeah. Have a nice day. I hope the sun is shining. As I say, the only thing I don't like about women is that they stick their pretty fingers in my wallet. Well, the ones who don't do exist. You just have to pick wisely.
Not only that, also learn their strategies. If you know they're going to stick their fingers in your wallet, don't store your money in your wallet, find other hideouts.
And put a mousetrap in there.
Nah, that would be evil.
No, that'd be funny.
Genius, but evil.
Funny. Too much Tom and Jerry as a child.
Well, yeah, but don't you ever forget you have the mousetrap in there, because if you stick your own fingers into it, it's gonna hurt.
Yeah, of course. But I'm from Yorkshire, so we don't put our hands in our wallets.
Well, yeah.
But yeah. Okay. So shall we retire? The stream is now.
I would like to decommission.
You would like a commission?
Decommission.
Decommission.
Yeah. Going out of service into the scrapyard.
No. And women are still oppressed even when doing better. Yes. Well, and women are oppressed for doing better. Not even when, but they'll say, "Oh, now we're expected to take on the majority of the earning." Yeah, because you pressured to be able to do the earning. They can literally rephrase anything to their advantage.
But well, we do live in a society that hates women, right? So they are always oppressed, even if they oppress themselves. Because we men don't stop them from oppressing themselves.
Yeah.
We have to follow each woman. Tell her, yes, you can do it. Yes, you can open the door. Yes, you can go out. Yes, you can breathe.
That sounds patronizing, oddly.
No, but that's just he for she.
Yeah.
Men helping out women to be no longer oppressed, to be safe. Yes, you can feel safe. Yes, feel safe. No,
no, they'll
yeah,
never
you're right.
feel
That would be
safe.
patriarchal. Yeah.
You see that is the ultimate feminist weapon. Because
damn if you do, damn if you don't.
No. Okay, feeling safe is the ultimate, or unsafe is the ultimate feminist weapon. Because things like backache, it's unprovable, right? They can just claim it, and you can never tell them they're wrong. You can tell them they shouldn't, but they'll say, but we do. We can point out that the only people making well, you could have come on here, Richard. The offer was there, but yes, if you like.
What do you want to do with the Viet Cong?
That voice channel, I think he means.
Oh yeah, okay. Foreign association.
Yes, no, I do that all the time. And as I'm old, I do things like the Viet Cong, yes. But yeah, it's like the only people making women feel unsafe are feminists. They're the ones telling them how bad it is, in direct contradiction of the evidence, right? But you can't ever deny someone saying they feel unsafe. They don't even have to feel unsafe. They just have to claim to feel unsafe, and you can never disprove it because it's not provable. They can just assert it and gain victim points by assertion.
Yeah,
And that's what they do.
see your
I mean,
point.
it's been rising in recent years, hasn't it? You hear these women, but I feel unsafe. None of the women I know dare go out. It's probably total bullshit, but they can say it. How can you disprove it? And you're a horrible misogynist if you call them a liar or ask them to prove it or doubt it. It is literally a free victim point because they can just state it for zero cost. Just words.
Then again, feminists also make women feel insecure because they say, "Oh, that's dangerous. This is dangerous," and
Yeah.
media repeats it, and eventually they start believing it, even though it's untrue.
Oh
And
yeah.
then they think, "Oh, it's dangerous going outside." They are pre-programmed. It's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So,
No.
so they actually feel unsafe, and because they are feeling unsafe, because they've been programmed in doing so, feminists start again all over again. Oh, women start to feel unsafe when doing this and that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. As I say, feminists are the only ones who consistently make women feel unsafe, and yet the unsafeness they claim is also unprovable and therefore undisprovable.
And that's why I constantly tell people that feminists are the true patriarchy. They are oppressing women. They are making them feel bad. Not the man. It's the feminist.
Yeah.
Well, they can be there are male feminists, but the
Well,
feminists
they aren't
say
men.
you have to.
Sorry. Terrible jibe.
Well, yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Feminists say you have to be afraid of this and that. Feminists say you earn less. Feminists say you cannot do that because the
Mm.
patriarchy. They
Feminists
are
say,
constantly
don't go
oppressing
to
the women.
university. It's a rape culture there. No, they
Yeah,
don't, but you know what I mean.
5 of 1 women get raped
Yeah, 5 out of
because
1.
feminist mathematics. It's certainly possible.
Yeah. Well, I refuse to use the word feminist and logic together because it is literally a contradiction in terms.
But it's just a question of definition.
No, it's not logic. It's reasoning, but you can have really unsound reasoning. But logic uh, accords to rules and so forth.
And rules can be defined. So,
Yes, by them uh, evil white people. Isn't it funny how ancient Greeks are white when it suits and not white when it suits?
well, advantage of being Mediterranean.
Well,
What in hell are you doing?
oh, sorry, scratching my head. I have skin ailments.
Oh.
Some of them call themselves cuck, Richard. Sadly. Cucks. It's a funny word. It's funny how words that rhyme actually have a very different impact.
Well, if they only rhyme, that's not a problem.
No.
Uh,
What I'm saying is like um, you've got so many ucks, right? So you've got buck, cuck, duck, fuck, luck, muck, suck, tuck, so on, right? Okay. But how they come across is actually influenced by the first letter, because that affects how you project it when you're speaking. And so that's why fuck is such a good one, because the fricative at the start kind of spits it out there. Whereas duck, it's a very abrupt sound and doesn't have the same impact. And it's just that one letter difference.
Yeah.
It's why
Well,
cunt is it's why cunt is such a powerful word, because that T at the end. And yet you do bunt or punt, which are two other words, and the initial letter lacks the impact.
Phonetics.
Okay, so I think we've ground to a halt, unless there's anything else you'd like to talk about.
Well, I think we went off topic very much.
Always. It is a mission statement, as far as I'm concerned.
Suddenly off topic. Do you have that on the list?
Sorry?
Shall no Trump. So, yeah, on the SOT image there, suddenly off topic, because that's what usually happens. That needs to be on there. It's not.
I haven't been maintaining it, though I do have a list of amendments somewhere.
Yeah, then add to it suddenly off topic, because
Yes, I
that's
will. I will. When my computer decides to react, it should be in there.
it's Windows 10. It knows better than you what you want to do, right?
No, it's just sluggish. So some other new ones to add are substantively odious twaddle, songs or torture, state-ordered transition, suffragettes over trannies, sexually objectified trainees, spanners of truth, and shame of Trudeau. So suddenly off topic.
Strangely on time was last time from Lab.
Strangely on top. Yeah, crikey, you do well to remember these things. Strangely on time.
Well, that's malfunction of my brain. The less important the information is, the better I can remember it.
That is actually quite common, I suspect. I can
Strangely
remember
enough, back in
band
school I
members.
was very good.
I can remember
Now
the
in real
band
life,
members of obscure punk bands from 40 years ago. What I did yesterday, haven't got a clue.
well, I know that issue. Stuff off topic.
Yes, I added him.
Dimitri's just said.
I added Dimitri's suggestion, yes. You see, if I was in any way a talented graphics programmer, I would design something that's moved, but I didn't. I just did something in Photoshop Elements, and it's a static image. Absolutely no animation whatsoever.
We need an animator.
Yeah,
like Arnie. I am the animator. I'll be back.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining me, young man. It's a pleasure.
Has been fun being on.
Good.
I hope I didn't annoy the chat.
I hope you did. Come on, that's our job. Got to trigger them a little, or they'll lose interest.
Hey, a job is paid work, okay? I don't get any money, so no extra wishes, okay?
Okay, you're excused all duties.
Thanks, so.
You're welcome. I love that. Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, well, we will thank you all for coming. I honestly have no idea why.
I don't think anybody is left in the chat at the moment.
Well, it still says I've got 6 concurrent users. It's just that.
Yeah, it's just Dimitri's left. The rest is gone.
Okay, no problem.
Well, yeah.
Then
So much for it.
yes, I'm going to click end stream now. Then I'm going to click